Thank you to everybody that's kind of put this together, from Ingold to Hockey Canada. I know Pasco's worked hard on it, and yeah, I just think it's so great to be able to share things. I mean, we're all kind of on this journey together, and it's so important to be able to learn from one another. You know, you guys have done a great job. So kudos to all of you for your hard work. There was a great question that came up from Corey McNabb. So I just quickly slid this in here. And this is one of my favorite quotes. So when I was looking back, gosh, a couple of months ago, and I had this binder, and the binder's probably, gosh, 35 years old now, or 30 plus years old. And it was interesting because, like, as I was going through it, I was like looking at what drove me as an athlete. This has nothing to do with coaching, but this is everything what I did to kind of prepare myself as a goalie. And I was very much mentored by guys that were heavily into martial arts. And the question that Corey brought up was awesome because we talk about technique. And I think there's as important as technique is, sometimes there's a danger in thinking too much technique. And we talk about that the goalie has to play. The goalie has to be able to just go out and play the game without being kind of locked in mentally with just all these rules and restrictions, right? So it's great quote from Suzuki says, if one really wishes to be a master of an art, technical knowledge is not enough. One has to transcend technique so that the art grows out of the unconsciousness. You must let the unconscious come forward. In such cases, you cease to be your own conscious master, but become an instrument in the hands of the unknown. The unknown has no ego consciousness and consequently no thoughts of winning the contest. It is for this reason the sword moves where it ought to move and makes the contest end victoriously. This is the practical application of the Lao Tzu doctrine of doing by not doing. Now, again, totally wasn't in my presentation, but I wanted to bring that up because it's a theory that I've lived as as a coach and also as a goalie. And I believe in technique. I believe we have to, be on the cutting edge of that all the time. But I also think that we have to learn how to let a goalie play. And when it's time to play, they should abandon that and play with an open mind. So Corey, great question. Just wanted to throw that in. So quick introduction. That photo right there is probably the only photo you'll ever see in a Canucks uniform, because I think it was my only time in a Canucks uniform. But I grew up in Vancouver and started playing really late. I was 12 when I started playing and had very limited talent, partially because I played late and partially just wasn't very good. But I always had a ton of hustle. I quickly found out that, that was the one thing that I could probably do more so than a lot of other people was outwork them. And that was a great gift for me. That was something that at least got me as far as I could go. And I think the other thing is that I was always learning. I was always trying to learn from different people and try to learn from, different realms of life. And I was probably a really weird kid because I was, doing meditation when I was 15 years old and, just trying to explore the things that a lot of things weren't necessarily in the mainstream. So the first lesson, so what I'm going to do here, guys, is I'm going to share basically 10 lessons. Now, I could have probably pulled out 100 different lessons and, quite frankly, you're always learning. That learning never stops. But I'm trying to bring out 10 lessons that, I'm hoping can help you guys as coaches as you guys navigate your own paths. So we all walk our own unique paths, and we've all been influenced by different experiences and different cultures. For me, guys, I'm born and raised in Vancouver with Swedish parents. All my family lives in Sweden. And then I became Americanized basically when I was 20 and went to school. So, I've recognized that there's all these different cultures that will pull in, and these people that you meet along the way that influence your journey. I look at mine, I look at, Ron Johnson, who lives in Vancouver. He's a biomechanist. He's, always worked with players. He was my first goalie coach. He never played goal, but he would teach me the mechanics. He was also in martial arts, so he would teach me how the body had to move. Just the coolest different things that, that I would learn from him. I start studying Bruce Lee. There's a book out there if you want to write down. It's called The Warrior Within. And it was my Bible for goaltending. It was just awesome. And I loved studying this. When I played in Sweden, my goalie partner, a guy named Jiro Nihei, ended up playing, he's a Japanese descent, and ended up playing for Team Japan in the Olympics and so forth. And unbelievable goalie who had this kind of, Eastern philosophy to him that I was really taking to. There's a guy out there, look this up, write this one down. His name is Buzz Fawcett. Okay. He has an article called The Predator, published in, I want to say it was Sports Illustrated in 1996. And he talks about studying or working with the eyes. He's a sharpshooter, and he had like a 99%, shot and would train people without the scope. And he would talk about things like, how we should train our eyes. And he would have stories about when you look at a bird, don't just look at the bird, look at the beak of the bird, right? And it was all about kind of dialing in this predator. Unbelievable article. You can look it up. It still exists if you want to search online. Phil Jackson, everybody knows this coach. I love studying this guy. It was all of the art of Zen. It's something that I was really, like I said, passionate about and was really, bringing into my life. And then as of late, a lot with the Navy SEALs. When I start coaching with Willie Desjardins, Willie was really into the Navy SEALs. I end up luckily meeting a bunch of the guys, and, they brought me into their inner circle. And now I love learning from them, just because they've been able to accomplish things that, they're so mentally tough and resilient. And, they also show how their egos are just so like normal, right? These guys are some of the most fiercest guys out there, yet they're trying to pick my brain on what we teach goalies. So many different avenues that can influence your path. My journey as a goalie, like I said, started in South Delta. And then, like I said, started when I was late. I was 12, wasn't very good. Played on the house team and then the B team. I just wasn't getting enough ice time. So I did this crazy move. I actually moved to Sweden and played junior hockey in Sweden when I was 16. And the reason why I did that is because I needed more ice time. I needed to be in a place where, I could just jump on the ice every day. Now, I owe Hockey Canada the hugest amount of gratitude for this, because they actually organized so I could do that. And, it's something that I've never forgotten, because if they hadn't helped me, my journey made it to take in a totally different direction. I got to work with a Swedish ice hockey organization and work with Thomas Magnusson. So I got all this training, and then I ended up back in juniors, played for the Chilliwack Chiefs. Coach there was a guy named Harvey Smeal, unbelievable guy that just pushed me as hard as he could, and I just met that challenge every single day. I went on and played at the University of Wisconsin, which was huge for me. Was there for 2 years, and then the hometown team came knocking, and at that time it felt like it was the right move to do. So I went with the Canucks. Had a couple games on the bench and a small cup of coffee, but mostly a minor league scrub. I spent tons of time in the American League and way too many East Coast League teams. And then I went over and played in the SHL, the Swedish Elite League. As a coach, was a little more condensed. I was at University of Wisconsin as a volunteer. I then was hired by the Predators to take care of the goalies in the American League, their minor league team, the Milwaukee Admirals. And then I got my opportunity with the Dallas Stars. So what I learned is that, there's different approaches for every coach, and there's also different approaches for every goalie. So it's not always, there's not always a right or wrong. There's not always one way. And recognizing creativity is important. I think there's a lot of goalies that we work with that have this natural skill that, they're just so good. And somehow we need to try to find a way to fix them, instead of recognizing that, oh my gosh, that's what makes you really, really good. So I think we have to recognize that, there's different paths for every coach and every goaltender. So how it relates to you as a coach, okay? So the way you teach will be based off of the experiences that you've gone through and the goalies that you've worked with in the past. You come to a symposium, there's going to be things that you could pull from different coaches, right? It doesn't mean that you have to become that, right? What makes you good is that you're going to have a brain of your own, you're going to have your own unique approach, and you're going to figure out what works for you, okay? So figure out what makes you good as a coach, right? This is no different than a teacher. You know, I got two girls that go to high school. What makes their teachers good? Everyone's going to be different. Not everyone just follows the same path or the same book, right? Yeah, I guess clear stated, the ones that are really good are usually the ones that are unique, right? The ones that have been able to think for themselves and be able to bring a different approach, right? Whether that's the way that they communicate or teach or whatever it is. Learn from other verticals, other sports. Okay, so remember, at the end of the day, we're managing people. Really, that's what we're doing. We're managing people, and you know, one goalie doesn't fit. One size doesn't fit all. Right. So we have to remember that as coaches. How it relates to your goalies. Your goalie's not you, right? Your goalie's not you. You're a piece of their development along their journey. All right. There's, you know, the odd time you'll hear guys that are taking claim for a goalie, this or that. What goes into building a goalie? There is so much, right? There is his mom, his dad, his goalie coach when he was younger, his soccer coach, his math teacher, right? There's just so many things that go into building this human and building this athlete that makes them successful, right? So you're not the goalie, right? You're just a piece of their development. The goalies that you work with are all different, and they're all a sum of their own experiences, right? And talent is only part of the equation. All right. If talent was the only part of the equation, I wouldn't have gotten near a professional hockey game in my life. Right. Again, there's so many different things that go into this. So that's the first one. We are the sum of our experiences. So learning, knowledge, skills, competence, training, growth, ability, experience, it all rolls into one.